take number probably 4, and this is my second attempt at the video. So 2024 has been a year of many achievements, but also many failures and grievances, especially in the latter half. This video was an entirely different concept before what you're seeing before you. Originally, I had this projector and I was going to do a more like movie-like setup, just like those who used to back in the day go on trips, take slide photos and show the rest of their family. And that's what I wanted to do for the viewing audience for this video. But unfortunately for me, as I just mentioned, this year's been kind of tiring, and well, as much as I tried to get those plans to fruition, it didn't work out. This projector here, which was very bright and very strong, as you can see by the video footage, it blew. At first, I thought it was the light bulb in the projector, but I bought 2 new light bulbs and they still don't work. And I've basically just run out of time to be able to do the video that I had originally planned, and trying to procure a replacement projector just wasn't feasible. Luckily for me, the lab that I use, shout out Splendid, they provided me with this, and basically it's a projection display box, or I actually don't even know what the actual term for it is called, but it has a carousel display. With my original video, as you can see here by these trays, I had 3 of them and they contained 36 slides, which is about 108 slides total, I think. I cannot transition all those slides into this carousel here, so I've just cut out a few slides already, and I'm basically just gonna go over 2024 on slide film. I recently got into slide film last year, but then I took a number of rolls to Japan. And once I got those slides back, I really saw the magic in slide film. To me, there's nothing else like holding a memory in your hand. And I can tell you right now from my experience, slide film is a completely different medium to negative film. Seeing your slides projected is an entirely different look to seeing them scanned, and it doesn't compare at all. It's almost like they're 2 different images. So as the new year rolls in, I'm gonna go ahead and show you 2024 on slide film with this, and just take you over my year and what I documented on slide film, because for me, this medium is the best for documenting your life. When you can see moments in time captured and you just have them in your hand, it is something else entirely. So I've spent a bit of time in 2024 taking a lot of self-portraits, and I took a few of them on slide film. Part of the challenge of shooting self-portraits and shooting them on slide film, just to integrate that difficult medium into my work and see how I could use it. I spent time walking around the city, and as much as it's not that creative, I went ahead and, when I saw a really cool reflection, such as this shot here, I went ahead and took those photos and just captured my life throughout the year on slide film. And as I said, I just capture my life, and sometimes it's not just photos of myself, but I live in a neighborhood not too far from this market that's by the waterfront. Sometimes the sun hits in the morning, and with all the colors that you see there so vibrantly, why not capture it on slide film? With the city that I live in, it's known for being very windy, but every once in a while there is a very beautiful and calm morning or afternoon, and you can go ahead and get beautiful shots with the boats like this. With slide film, a lot of people say that you've got to be careful about the dynamic range. Yes, there is less dynamic range, but as you can see by this photo here, you can easily, in still contrasty areas, get a photo that is reasonably exposed in both the highlights and the shadows. Don't be afraid of shooting slide film. Now, we spent some time in Japan, and it was something else entirely. I've never been to a city where it was basically to the end of the earth. It was towards the horizon and felt like it would never stop. And of course, we went to Shibuya Station, where I did this long exposure on slide film, maybe slightly overexposed on the highlights, but it's still a really cool shot. And of course, then I got this shot here with the people as silhouettes. We've seen movies like Tokyo Drift, and now I have a photo of Shibuya Station. That's something I can see and hold in my hands. And of course, we went to Kyoto right after being in Tokyo, and it was stunning and beautiful. And this was right before some of the tourist areas were banned, and we were able to get this beautiful shot without anyone else being around. And of course, I had to hit all of the touristy spots because I'm probably part of the problem. When you go to Japan, it's busy, even in the middle of winter. And luckily for me, It was a beautiful winter's morning and I was able to get this stunning shot. It really was a beautiful morning, as you can see by this photo here. The Golden Temple definitely lives up to its name. It is extremely golden, and the richness and vibrance that slide film can produce is unlike anything else. And if you ever get to project slides of something like the Golden Temple, it is something else entirely. After we went to the Golden Temple, on the very same day, we went ahead to the Emperor's Palace. And with the Emperor's Palace, it is gigantic and there isn't a huge amount of tourists, which makes it really good to be able to go photograph without other people around, especially if that's the kind of photography that you do. Otherwise, you can take some nice photos of some rooftops if you're trying to avoid having things in it they don't fit the vibe that you're trying to go for. With this particular photo, it's not a very good photo, but I like the architecture that they had there at the tourist sites, but that's the issue. It's a tourist site and it's full of people, and it was not what I wanted to photograph. So instead, I took this very bad photo. Now, of course, we had to go to the gates. And whilst I have this really, really good slide photo that I would love to show you, unfortunately it was shot on my medium format camera and I don't have a projector for those. However, if I would recommend one thing for seeing the gates, go in the afternoon or evening, depending on what time of the year that you're going to be there. It is best in my experience that you go at sunset. The way the sun hits, as you can see by this photo, the gates is something else entirely. As you can see, the sun just beams across the sky by this very unbalanced photo, but sometimes you try to capture those moments and it doesn't always work out. 2024 has been full of vibes, and this particular photo is just that. It's a vibe. And I just like the look of the sunlight hitting into our apartment at the time. And I decided to capture this photo just to capture a little moment, a little vibe in my life. Now, as a flat, we've been doing quite a few flat activities together. One of them has been going out and getting bubble tea, but part of that is been sewing. Our flatmate has been teaching us to sew, and in exchange, we've been making some of the best meals in their lives for them, as you can see by this delicious hot pot. Now, this here might be my favorite photo I've taken of Ching, or at least my most analog looking photo. It was taken in 2024, but as you can see by the photo, it looks like it's straight from the 80s or 90s. Now, as I said, our flatmate Molly has been teaching us to sew. One of the things we've made this year is a tablecloth. We've made 2 duvets, pillowcases, a dress, a suit, and possibly another suit if we get enough time before she leaves to China in about 2 days from when I'm recording this video. Now, whilst Molly taught us, I did a majority of the sewing. This is a project that has sat around for about 2 years, and I've been meaning to do it but didn't know how to. Often as creatives, we go ahead and we stick to one particular medium, but I think some of the best creatives out there have more than one medium to play with. By combining different mediums and different influences, you can go ahead and be way more creative and less limited, and be able to combine ideas and do something in a unique way that others might not necessarily see or be able to do. Here's the duvet that we made, and here's the dress that we made Ching, which will be a future video coming up shortly. And this is what I mean by taking one medium and mixing it with another. So we made this dress, and then all of a sudden we had this very beautiful dress that we had access to. Ching came out with me on a late winter's morning, and we just waited for the right morning where there was a sunrise, and I was able to get what is kind of a cliche photo, but it is stunning and gorgeous, and she looks beautiful in it. Now, as I've already said, I've been capturing my life with slide film, and part of our life this year has been trips that we didn't plan, including this trip down to my hometown of Rangiora, as we were not able to stay in our place for a little bit due to some circumstances. And I will be making a video that's related to that coming up somewhat shortly. But whilst we were there, we tried to make the most of it. And the beautiful blossoms that are in my hometown had just started to bloom at the time. And so when the sun hit right, we went ahead and got cute shots like this. And of course, I also tried to take some photos of the flowers. And I've been practicing my macro photography this year. This is something that, whilst in many ways I would have thought being boring, I've actually come to enjoy a lot more. And of course, I've been taking photos of bees on flowers. I don't know why I've started to do this, as until about 5 years ago, I was incredibly terrified of bees due to some nice childhood trauma. But Yeah, I've started to take photos of bees and on slide film or just film in general. And I have a feeling right now, I'm looking at a mirror, you guys can't see it, but there's a mirror just so that I can see what photos are here so that I can talk to you. And I have a feeling right now, I'm looking at the mirror and it says Lincoln University, but you're probably seeing the image around the other way, and I'm probably not gonna go ahead and reverse it in post. This year, Ching has been doing a lot of study, and part of that study meant going down to Lincoln University, even though she was studying remotely, as she had to go down there for a project. So yeah, we went down to Lincoln Uni. And you know, it's been a pretty tiring year. If anything, I probably look quite tired right now. And it just has been that way due to a number of circumstances ever since around September. And while sometimes, you know, we're a little bit tired, but we get some beautiful shots like this. And this stunning shot here, you know, when you go out and travel, when you go out and actually leave your house, you will walk into circumstances where all of a sudden there is a photo that you can take and it's aesthetically pleasing to you. And this is just one of those moments. Now, we tried to make the most of our time down in Christchurch, including going out to the beach down there and just catching up with some friends. And I just took this photo at the time. And of course, when I see a moment to take a photo like this one, I just capture it. It's just a little moment at a time, our life as it was happening, and it just looks great. And then whilst I was down in Christchurch, I caught up with some of my friends. And some of my friends currently are moving on in their lives, and it's so great to see. My friend Georgie here, she's just gone ahead and bought her first ever house. I like to collect cameras, as you guys can see, and heaps of film boxes, as you can see. But my friend Georgia here, she likes to collect books and she collects a lot of them. And now she finally has a place to store them all. For me, when I have the chance to, I just take photos of my friends. I like to cement those memories. Using slide film here has been one of the best ways to do that because you can capture those moments in time in the most truest way possible. So as part of our excursion that I will go into in an upcoming video, we were down in Dunedin for about 2 weeks, and down there is Ching's homestay family and the cats. She loves the cats, and I love my partner, so I like to take photos of the cats, and then I can give her photos of the cats. So this here is Chin Chin. She's sitting on the chair, and I just think, you know, maybe not the best photo, but it was a cool spot. And I try to get different photos of the cats to capture their personality differently, because all 4 of the cats that are there are quite different from each other, including these 2 here. The bottom one is Dodo and the top one is Bao Bao. And Bao Bao means baby in Chinese. And Bao Bao is definitely not a baby and definitely a grumpy little shit sometimes. Dodo, on the other hand, is Ching's favorite. I've probably got 1 too many images that look exactly like this, but the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned. And of course, here is Dodo on the neighbor's roof where he shouldn't be. Now, I actually have a photo very similar to this one that I took last year in black and white whilst we were down in Dunedin house sitting here. And while I had to take one in color, and just the color of this Agfa slide film is possibly my favorite. I actually like the colors more than Velvia or Provia or Ektachrome or even possibly Kodachrome. And of course, if I could, I got some photos of the cats whilst they were asleep. Did I possibly wake them with the flash? Yeah, possibly. Now, the city that we live in actually is a great city for those that love to hike, as there are a lot of hiking tracks on the hills right behind the houses, and our house is no exception. In fact, about 2 minutes that way, you can go ahead and walk onto a track, and that's what we did. When I had the time, sometimes I took extended lunch breaks, and this is just one of those moments where we went ahead and we walked up the track and just saw some beautiful views and appreciated our city. And of course, there always has to be the one photo that when you go load them in for a project like this, you don't put in the right orientation. And again, like I said, sometimes you don't appreciate the city that you live in as much as you should. But I've been trying to, and I would like to do some more hiking in 2025 so that I can do so. Now, one of the reasons why I shoot slide film, or just film in general, is that I like documenting my life. And sometimes they're not going to be the best photos like this one here, but when you see something cool, unique or different, if you don't mind the cost, go ahead and photograph it and document it, because that's what I did this year. I just went ahead and just captured moments, whether it was something unique and original, or in the case of this photo, just a vibe. But of course, I documented my life, as I've mentioned earlier, and something that I've been trying to do a little bit more in 2024, even on my very limited time that I can have available for others, is catching up with friends, having them come over, and we went ahead and played some board games. The only downside to that is that I didn't win. However, on the plus side, I get to shame my friend for forgetting his work keys that he had to come back for and pick up. Again, capturing moments in time. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna apologize for it. I think capturing moments in time is incredibly important. And of course, capturing photos of beautiful cars is also not necessarily equally important, but definitely important. Okay, I lied. It's maybe not important, but you know, when you see a beautiful car and you live where I live, where beautiful cars are often by the beachside quite often, you're gonna wanna go ahead and take photos, even if they don't necessarily turn out perfectly how you wanted them to. But you can spend time wasting a few more shots on your roll till you get them how you want them to be, and then waste a few shots more. Now, I've spent a bit of time down at this lighthouse, and this shot here is actually taken with two filters, a blue gradient filter on the bottom and an orange gradient filter on the top. So they meet in the middle where they don't add much coloring, but they add more blue to the bottom and more orange to the top. And with this lens in particular, it doesn't like having filters on it. So you get this kind of vignetting effect on the photo, but I think it's a pretty cool vibe regardless. And yeah, I've just spent more time this year trying to get those beautiful morning shots because that's what I like to photograph. And as I've mentioned, I've been working on a self-portrait series, and I've been trying to shoot self-portraits on slide film as well, including some long exposures, which is quite difficult to do. But that's why we set ourselves a challenge. It's not necessarily perfect and it is quite difficult, as I said, to do, but eventually the more you do it, hopefully along the lines, you'll get an amazing photo. And whilst I necessarily haven't got an amazing photo on slide film with this particular kind of subject matter yet, I have been able to do it on some black and white and some other film. One of the things that I've been doing a lot more this year is making an effort to go out rather than shooting out in the midday, which is kind of more convenient, whilst not necessarily for some the best lighting, though I have no problem shooting in the midday sun. I'm quite used to it. Going out and actually making the time to get up early in the morning to get shots like this is something that I haven't previously done, and part of this year is driving myself to do that. So that's what this photo represents. Now, this photo here didn't turn out how I wanted it to be. Not everything has worked out in my favor this year for timing. I probably do a little bit too much and can't always get everything to line up. Unfortunately, where I'd want the sun to be by the time that I got around to being able to go out in the morning and go all the way to this lighthouse, it just didn't work out. But getting up in the morning and watching a beautiful sunrise regardless is probably a great way to start the day. And of course, getting up in the morning and seeing the moon as it leaves the day is also a beautiful thing to see. Now, this photo here is a mountain that I've gone ahead and shot a number of times. And it is stunning and it's beautiful, and I have a particular photo in mind that I'm trying to achieve when photographing this mountain. And I've been going here for a couple of years now, and I think I've worked out when is the best time of the year to get the photo that I'm after, and I'm not that far away from photographing it, as you can see by this photo. Now, talking of photographing mountains, I did photograph Mount Fuji earlier this year, and you can go ahead and watch my Mount Fuji video on my channel if you want. This photo here doesn't represent the photo that I tried to achieve there. This was shot on 64T, which is a very tungsten balanced slide film and designed for shooting at night. However, having photos of Mount Fuji in my hand is something else entirely, and I have some beautiful shots on Velvia of the mountain. Now, the final photo for this video here is a photo of a star trail. Now, 2024, I'm going to be shooting just black and white film. That's what I'm going to be basically doing. Now, I have a couple of rolls of color film that are half shot, and I'm going to finish them off because I'm not going to waste the film. But 2024, as I just mentioned, is going to be my year for black and white film, with some exceptions. If I have a specialty project and things line up, I'm going to go ahead and shoot it because simply that is what I've intended and planned. But the other thing too is I would really love to try shoot more astro on slide film. I've seen some photos by others, and I think being able to project the stars in your room or just elsewhere with a projector like this that does not compare to any other way to actually see the stars other than looking up at them. I'm hoping to get a star tracker and go out with others and get a photo of the galaxy. If you've seen Smarter Everyday's video on capturing the lunar eclipse, where he shot it on slide film, that is something else entirely, and that's what I really want to do. And this photo here, whilst not something that I'm super proud of achieving, it's a starting point, and that's what matters. That's why we go out and we photograph all the time. You may not necessarily get the photo that you want, but sometimes you get an idea of a photo like this one, and then you can go ahead and create something later on once you've got your understanding of how to kind of get it there, and then work on it with your experience to build it into an image that you are really proud of, that you want to go ahead and achieve. And that's what 2024 has been. Sometimes it's immediate successes and other times it's a bit of a failure. I would say though, whilst I had a few failed shots on slide film and just photos in general, I've had so many successes this year, and I've been able to capture my life and let it grow in a way that I'm just incredibly proud of. And I'm incredibly proud of myself and my partner and all that we've done this year in 2024. And I'm hoping in 2025 that we can capture our year. It will be on black and white film, but you will see progression in our lives. You'll see progression on the videos, and that's what documenting your life is all about. It's about growing, and that's really what I want to do with this channel, and that's what I really want to inspire others to do. So if you feel like it, that you can afford it, I would recommend going ahead and photographing your life. Maybe not on slide film if you really can't afford it, but at least photograph your life, capture it week by week, and you'll be surprised how much growth you can get in 1 year if you really just go out there and try to do things, even just the smallest things like going for a hike or making something. You might end up with more achievements in the year than you realized, and that's something to look back at with fondness. As always, it's been real, guys. Until next time.